Hey everybody, welcome back to another video about Firestore database on the cloud. What we're going to do with this video, I'm going to show you how to do nested objects. In the previous examples, we did only the user table collection, and then we were able to add and set rules about who can add and update these collections. In this one, I'm going to show you what if you have, like we have a food item, for example, and that food item can have descriptions and other attributes, but also will have the location or the address information. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new collection, and in that collections, we will have a nested objects in it. So let me show you first if we want to create a new item. So I go to the same project that we've been working with. I go to the database, you log into the console. And then if you start new collections, so I'm going to call this collections food item. All right. And then you click on next. Now I'm going to show you, I'm not going to add anything right now. I'm just going to show you a few things. So when you type in a field, for example, ABC, and then there are different types here. We've used strings, we've used numbers, booleans, and things like that. But there's one called map. A map is really nothing but as another object, embedded object. So we'll come back to this when we actually insert the data from the applications, and then you'll see. But I want to point that out to you. A map is nothing but is an embedded object within an object. All right. You can have timestamp, you can have geopoint, and other things. I'm going to cancel that for now. And then we will add it from our application. But before I do that, I need to set the rules. The rules for this food item is going to be, we're going to add another rule. So I can copy this if I want, or you can just do match. And then it's going to be food item. That's the name of the collection. Any document item, let's say, name. And we want to allow everybody that has, so allow read if you have basically if request, I'm going to take this one here, so we'll start copying it. So if the user, the request actually is signed up with us, okay? And I'm going to add another special condition here. I'm going to allow if, what we're going to do, we're going to actually validate the fields that comes to us. That way you can actually do verification at the field level, not just at the ID level and things like that. And I'm going to show you how we do that, all right? All right, so in what we're going to do, we're going to say request, the request that is coming to me, request dot resource. We're looking at what is coming, the data that is coming to us, dot the data, and then we're going to have a name there, which is called food name. And we will allow this only if the food name is not equal to null, all right? So that way we validate request, this should be request here, okay? Okay, so what this is saying to me is saying that I will allow rights only the food name if the food name is not null. That means that they have passed to me information in that field called food name. Now you can do this with any other object. You can do this with, with any field that you're sending up to the cloud to validate it. You can, if it is a number, you can validate the number value. If it's a timestamp, you can validate the timestamp. Whatever you want, all right? So that is another way that you can control what goes into your database. Okay, so I'm gonna publish that. So remember the name of the table is called food item, all right? So we're done on the cloud. I'm going to go to the Xcode and the project that we've been working with. So what I did, if you remember in the main storyboard, we have in the main storyboard, we had only these two options in the main storyboard previously. I added another view controller, and then you can do the same thing. I just did it so we can save time on this. We don't have to mess with it. I added another button here. This button, when you click on it, it will take you on the view item, food item. This view food item has a food name, the type of the food, the address, and the city. And then when you click on add, it will basically add that food item to the cloud. We just set up the rules on the cloud. And when you do get, it will get that food item, all right? Now, in the next video, I'll show you how we do that, retrieve it in a list and show it in a table view controller. But this is important for us to understand how you can add objects within an object, and then how do you retrieve it other than just the user table that we've been working with. All right, so what do we have with this view controller? And with this view controller, I have another view controller associated with it, which is called food items. You'll have to do that. And then I have all the outlet already established for the message, the city, the name, the food name, the address, the type, and the address. And then I have two buttons. One is to save, add the item, and one is to get the item, all right? And I have an indicator here, all right? So I'll give you some time, I'll pause for a minute to give you some time to actually do that. So create another view controller, do the connections, and then after that, do all the connections here. After that, you have two functions, of course, and then we will add these two, the Firebase and the Firestore and the authentications. And when you click on the add, we will add the item. When we click on the get, we'll get the item. So I'll pause for a minute and give you a chance to do that part. So what you need to do, go to the main storyboard, add another view controller, add the following items in it, and then create a view controller object, a view controller file, which is this one here, food view controller. And in it, I establish all the connections, all right? So I'm assuming that you already know how to do that. You know, if you are at this level, if you're dealing with Firebase, you should be able to do this basic stuff, all right? Okay. All right, so we'll come back. So what we wanna do in the add function, first of all, we wanna get the user. So I'm gonna say, get the user to see if they're user ID, if they're logged in or not, okay? How do we do that? Remember, we can say guard, and what are we doing? We say let UID equal auth dot auth, and then we get current user dot UID, else what do we say? System out, or we have a message, right? We will put the message self dot MSG. Typically what you do, you direct them to the login screen dot text equal must log in first, right? All right, and then we do return. Otherwise, we will continue, all right? The next thing is that we use the set data. Remember the set data, previous set data function to update or to write to the cloud. Okay, how do we do that? All right, so what do you need to do is first we establish, I'm gonna say I'm gonna actually create a dictionary. And a dictionary, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a key value pair. So it'll give you the attribute, and then it will give you the value of that attribute. Instead of doing it all in the set data, we create a dictionary, and then we'll use this dictionary to upload it to the cloud. So I'm going to say let food item equal. I'm doing it this way because there is another way to do it with custom object, but to be honest, I tried it different ways. It seems like it is inconsistent. There's issues with it. So I'm gonna try, I'm doing it the basics way that it would work, guaranteed work on all versions of Xcode that you have, okay? So we'll say let food item equal to what? Now a dictionary starts with a bracket and ends with a bracket. So I'm gonna put in this square bracket, I'm gonna put my attributes in here. So remember we had the first attribute in that one. If you remember, one of the things that we must pass is the food name, all right? So that is one of my attributes that I will use. Okay, so I'll go back to Xcode, and then I will put food name in the string format, food name, and then you will put the value. Now, where is that value gonna come from? It's gonna come from the text field that we already have. And that text field is called txt name, and then dot text. And then you need to unwrap this because it will give you a warning if you don't do that. So, all right, so it will give you, that will give me the food name. The next thing I have is that actually the food type, which is type. I am gonna get it again from the text field that we have, which is txt type. And then I'm gonna say text, and again, unwrap it. Okay, so that is for the type. And then we have the city. Now the city and the, okay, there are other things that I'm gonna add. For example, I'm gonna put the date example or the date timestamp, all right? So why is that? It'll tell you when it was added. So I'm gonna say timestamp, and I'm going to put timestamp. You'll see that. And then you will put date, and then we will put the current date that we have. All right, so that will give me the current date, and that will be uploaded as well. All right. Where is it? We're getting here there. Oh. Okay, let's continue and then we'll figure out the error. All right, so we have insert a string for which one here? Introduce kind of explicit. All right. Okay, let me check something out here. All right, so the problem is that actually we didn't specify the type of this object, this array, so this food item. So you do need to say it is of type, it has string as one, the first attribute, and the other attribute is any. All right, so typically that's how a dictionary is defined. You have an attribute and you can store in it any type of data. All right, so we did the timestamp. Remember this, yeah? We need to define that. We did the timestamp, and then we will have the other thing that we need here is the user ID, UID, so we know who added it, UID, and then it's the value that we got from the ID here, right? So this is the ID that we got from here. Okay, so then another thing that we need is that now we want to have location. And this location is going to be an object, okay? So I'm going to say location. And then this location itself is another array or another dictionary. So how do we do that? Again, we do the same thing, okay? So I have another dictionary in it. Well, we need a comma here. And then what do you need? What we put in here, I'm going to put, we have already the city. So I'm going to put the city, and the city is going to come from txt city dot text and exclamation mark, and then we have another. I'm going to add another street number, okay, just to put a street, and I'm going to hard code this street 1 2 3, okay, and then I'm going to add another thing which is called area. All right, and then area. Let's make, yeah, street 1023 area, and I'm gonna make again here, comma, and the area is, let's say here. All right. So now what we've done, what we have done, we've created the dictionary that we want to upload. It will have two objects. It'll have the main object, the food item, and it has a following attribute in it. In addition to that, it'll have an embedded object in it, which is called location, and that one has more attribute. All right. So that would be the map in your on the cloud, okay, in the Firestore. All right. So that's the first step. We created the dictionary. The next thing is just simple. We've done that before. The next thing is to next is call the API to set the object, to create the object on the cloud. All right. So how do we do that? Okay. So the way you do that, first, I'm going to use the name of the food item as my document name. All right. So I'm going to say let doc name equal txt name dot text, and I'm going to unwrap it. All right. And I did that animation, and okay, you could do that part. We've done that, the activate in the animation part. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say DB. We already have the DB object, DB dot collection, and the name of the collection. What is the name of the collection? The name of the collection, if you remember, if you go to the because that's what we set the rules are. If you go in here, and then you'll see the name of this is called food item. So that is my collection name. So I'm going to use that in here. That's my collection name. And then I'm going to say .document, .doc, and then the name of the document, what document name we're going to use. We're going to use the doc name. So whatever name of the food that we add, that would be my document name. All right. Obviously, you can do a lot of different things to make sure it's unique and all of that. So, and then what we're going to do in that, we're going to say set data. Set data. And now what do you do with the completion handler, the one that actually tell us that it was okay or not? So what data I am going to use here? I'm going to use the data that I've created above, which is called food item. Food item. All right. And then for the completion handler, all we need to know, do we have an error or not, right? So if we got an error, and here's the code for the error. Okay, so what do we do in here? If we have, we say if let error, or we just say if error does not equal to nil. What does that mean? That means we got an error, else we don't have an error. All right. So if we have an error, we're going to say self.message.text document, and then I'm going to say equal to document or item was not added. And then you can put the description Y, then you can put slash error. All right, that will give you the error why it was not added. Otherwise, let's leave it as that. Otherwise, what we'll do is self.message.text equal food item was added. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and this one, and test it. Let's test it, make sure that it actually makes it to the database, and see if it works. All right. So if we do this, I'm gonna display errors we got. All right. So if I go to the food item, here's my food item, and if I type in falafel, and the type is Arabic. The address, we didn't use the address yet, but I will show you later on how to use the address. And then the city is Dubai. Now, if I click on add, what should happen, the food item was added. So it should call the API and add that item to the list. If I gonna give another shawarma, I'm gonna leave the rest as the same. So it's a different name, and see what happens. So shawarma, and then click on add. If we have an error, it will give you an error. Obviously the activation, I did not code the activating, but I'm assuming it worked. Now, if I don't put anything in here, and I click on add, we got an error in the application actually. All right, so we didn't take care of that. Anyway, we'll take care of it later on. But let's check what happens on the database. So if I go to the database, I got my food item, and I got 2 documents in the food item. And notice here's the food name. The food name is the same as the document name. Here is information from the application that we got. Here's the user ID, and here's the timestamp, and here is the type. So that is how you do object within an object. All right. So that's embedded object, and that is very useful because obviously you don't want to have many objects like that, but sometimes you want to embed object into another object, and this is how you do it. I have a class in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to stop this one, and then I'll continue the other one later on, and then I'll show you how we read the data back, because reading the data is more difficult than inserting the data. All right, I'll see you in the next video.